Ladies and gentlemen, welcome here today to Pocono Raceway for the Pocono 500. We are going to get set for a probably long one, but it will hopefully be wild. The string of luck needs to come to an end. Changes have been made to the number 16 car, paint scheme-wise, heading into this race today. Very bland, but looking for a string of new luck. It has been a tough last 6 races for Greg Biffle. Coming into this race, he sits 14th in the point standings. We'll take you through the starting lineup for today's race shortly. So let's hop on in. Called 48, welcome to the stream here in the early going.
MRN is live in Pennsylvania today at the Pocono Raceway for the Pocono 500. This track produces some of the fastest racing of the year, but it also presents some special challenges to the drivers.
Unique is definitely the word for this racetrack. First of all, there are only 3 corners, each of which has completely different banking, which also means there are 3 straightaways. And guess what? They're all different lengths. This is one tough racetrack to prepare a race car for.
Greg Biffle won the Ray Best's Rookie of the Year award in the NASCAR Busch Series in 2001. He started
Beauty of a paint scheme right there.
And posted 5 wins. Jerry Nadeau is one of those guys who you just keep expecting to break out and have a good year.
Yeah, you do, but he's got a ton of talent and some good equipment. He's shown he can win and run up front. Now he's just got to string some success together and gain some confidence out there.
Aiden Rowland, welcome to the stream as well. And nice, by the way. Canadian Bacon, welcome to the stream. Take you through today's starting lineup for the Pocono 500. And we're going to start things off with 2 Dales on the front row. Dale Jr. on the pole once again this season, just the second time this year he's qualified on the pole. Dale Jarrett will be outside of him in second. Jr., two-time winner on the season, coming off a win in the last race at Dover. Jeff Gordon also has a win this year. He'll be starting third. He's also won at this racetrack in the past. Sterling Marlin outside of him in fourth. Bill Elliott, Ryan Newman will make up row 3. Newman comes into this race sitting in the top 5 in the point standings. No wins this season. In row number 4 behind them, we've got Jimmy Johnson and Greg Biffle. Biffle, a 5-time winner already this season, but has faded back. Bad luck DNFing in 4 of the last 6 races. Ricky Rudd has a win this season on a road course. Kevin Harvick with a win in the biggest race of the year, the Daytona 500. They start back in row 5. In row 6 behind them, we've got Rusty Wallace and Mark Martin. Martin trying to climb back to the point standings this season over the last couple races. For today's race, Kurt Busch had a pretty good run in the race yesterday at Dover. Ricky Craven, Matt Kenseth will make up row number 8. Matt Kenseth also had a pretty good race there. Was running in the top 3 basically all day. Michael Waltrip, Robbie Gordon will start in row 9. Waltrip trying to bring in momentum as well from Dover, ran in the top 10 all day. Tony Stewart is the points leader coming into this race, still winless. He'll start inside of row 10 with Jeremy Mayfield outside of him. Back in row number 11, we've got Kenny Wallace and Jeff Green. Jeff Green won 2 of the last 4 races. In the last 4 races in total have been won by DEI. Green got the sweep at Daytona. Ken Schrader, Joe Nemechek will start in row number 12, 23rd and 24th on the grid. In row number 13, we've got Mike Skinner, Jeff Burton. Christian Fittipaldi and Ward Burton will be starting all the way back in row 14. Ward Burton's on a string of bad luck as of recently, especially when it comes to qualifying. Kyle Petty in 2000 Winston Cup champion, Bobby Labonte to the outside of him in row 15. Casey Mears, Brett Bodine will be back in row 16 for the start of today's race. Kevin LePage and David Green will be back in row 17. A couple of youngsters back there. Well, for David Green, rookie at least in the series. Longtime veteran within the Busch Series. Kevin Grubb, Terry Labonte will be back in row 18. Labonte, a 2-time Winston Cup champion. Jack Sprague, Johnny Benson will be starting back in row number 19 in today's race. Behind them in row 20, we've got Steve Park and Jerry Nadeau. And behind them in row 21, Jamie McMurray, rookie on the inside, and Hermie Sadler. brother of Elliott Sadler on the outside, row 21, and behind them, starting last but not least, Ashton Lewis, another rookie, rounding out the field today. Well, here we go. 200 laps at Pocono, 500 miles. This could get crazy. Biffle going to try to get back at Newman at some point in time today. Green flag will wave, and we are underway at Pocono. Starting on the outside can be treacherous for those guys. The inside line really taking off going into turn 1. Biffle kind of fading back after that 8th place qualifying position. Look at him fan out, 2, 3, 4 wide. Well, we haven't seen 4 wide, I guess, but I'm sure we will at some point in time today if we get more restarts throughout the course of the race. Ooh, had to get on the brakes hard there. These guys like to check up quite a bit going into turn 2. Biffle almost got in the back of Harvick here on lap 1. All the way to the inside now. 3 wide. Harvick trying to block Biffle near the grass. Oh, contact with Harvick and Ricky Rudd. Those two have a little bit of history with one another. Well, contact getting into turn 3. Lap 1 is in the books. Biffle goes all the way down the racetrack now to try and break the draft. Ooh, dive bomb going into turn 1. Big power slide on the bottom of the racetrack. Billy Kramer, welcome to the stream. Oh, big check up there. Biffle luckily got to the brakes in time. That was a close one. Drafted right behind Ryan Newman in the 10th position. Biffle lost a couple positions off the very start. Looking to the inside of Newman. Oh, big slide. Clipped the grass through turn 3. That's going to cost him a little bit of time. Ricky Rudd trying to get on by on the outside. His momentum broke as he almost got into Biffle. Tony Stewart all over the back bumper of the 16 now. That was a big moment on lap 2 already for Greg Biffle as the field is not yet spaced apart, only being the second lap of the race. 16 cars all over the place right now. 3 wide to the bottom goes Stewart off of turn 1. They try to hold their marks. Biffle going to be able to clear Ricky Rudd at least, trying to draft off of Ryan Newman. Biffle going to have to let Stewart go. Tony Stewart just threw it into turn 2 to get around Greg Biffle. A lot of tire marks are going to be going into turn 2. I can't get through that corner without jamming my brakes. I tried everything I could in practice to get the car woed up in time without losing too much time, and you just kind of got to slide the brakes in there. So you might see a lot of tire wear on those front tires, especially the right front throughout the course of the race today. Not to mention, turn 1 on this racetrack speeds well over 200 miles an hour, 207. Right there, that's what we were seeing consistently in practice, about 206 to 207, sometimes 208 miles an hour before the braking zone into turn 1, one of the more treacherous corners in NASCAR. Seen some bad accidents at this racetrack over the years, especially within the early 2000s in NASCAR. Kurt Busch, oh, just inside as Biffle about clipped him. I don't know how Kurt Busch didn't end up in the wall there. Biffle tried to duck in line behind Kurt. He about sent his teammate into the wall. Car just gets really loose on the brakes. Really all 3 turns around this racetrack, and you wonder over the course of the run how bad it will get. I only ran 11 laps consistently within practice. So once the tires get beyond that point, it's really just going to have to be a guessing game of how the car is going to handle corner by corner, lap after lap. Feels like the car's more stable when I lock the brakes too for some reason. I don't know why that would be the case, but again, hopefully we don't have to worry about anything bad happening with the brakes or the tires over the course of the race. That's a lot of laps and a lot of miles around this track in particular to be doing that. We've had other 2.5-mile racetracks on the circuit already this year, quite a few of them to be exact. We just ran the Brickyard 400 at Indianapolis a handful of races ago. Of course, Daytona within the last couple of races as well. Another 2.5-mile racetrack. Granted, that one races a lot differently than the other two, but still 2.5 miles in length. We took a trip to Talladega already this year, and it's a little over that length. And Watkins Glen's similar to a 2.5-mile length racetrack, although it is a road course. So a lot of bigger racetracks already have been ran this season, and this is another one on the list. Use a lot of drafting ability down these very long straightaways. In fact, the longest straightaway in NASCAR is this Long Pond straightaway. Across the start-finish line, about a third of the way down, and just carries so much speed going down into turn one. We already mentioned 206 to 208 miles an hour consistently will be the speeds going into that corner. Ethan, welcome to the stream also. Didn't see you down in the chat before. Trying to run maybe a little bit deeper into the corner compared to everybody else. It's a lot easier when there's nobody really all over his back bumper as well as directly in front of him. See, going into turn 3, all the race cars ahead of Biffle, the exhaust side of the left side of the race car. Look at Dale Jarrett now all the way to the bottom, maybe looking to drive it in deep to get around Tony Stewart. I have to assume that's why he ran down there. Jarrett still looking underneath Stewart now, off of the corner. And they're going to be side by side off into the tunnel turn. Biffle might have broke a little too much into the corner. Maybe trying to back up the corner a little bit more, get the run on exit. That didn't work. Lost a little bit of ground. Jarrett and Stewart have been side by side almost an entire lap. We'll kind of overdrive in turn 3 a little bit too. So all the way to the bottom. Trying to do something he can. That time he tried to break the draft to see if he can maybe get a run, get underneath Stewart. That didn't work either. So hard to pass on this racetrack. Each and every one of these 3 turns. High braking zones, high speeds. Sometimes you see drivers downshift. Turn 1, even turn 2 sometimes. Not so much with the 550 horsepower package now, but well before that. These Gen 4 cars in particular as well. Saw that happening quite frequently. Car almost wants to loop around on Biffle in turn 3. That's about the 3rd time he's overran the corner and been in the grass already, and we're only coming to lap 10. Stewart gets right back around Biffle after Biffle got around Stewart the corner before. Tim Irvin, welcome to the stream. Oh, big moment there going into turn 1. Biffle's car just got tight, and he ran right up into Tony Stewart. Stewart got bumped out of the way. Here comes Mark Martin now to try and take over the 11th position from Stewart. Race leader not really pulling it away out there as well. Tim running as Greg Biffle. Again, we're using this season, so we're going to be using the same driver. I decided to change it to the test car. It's the only other paint scheme Biffle's got in this game. And we've had such bad luck over the last 6 races. We need better luck here. I should say last 5 races, but... And 4 DNFs in the last 5 races, man. It has just been a tough, tough break for Biffle. And he's led a decent amount of laps in really every one of those races. Especially Martinsville, but... just can't seem to get to the end of these things as of late. And this is a 500-miler, so this is going to test some more endurance today. Got to make it to the end. Jimmy Johnson to the inside of Kevin Harvick. Dale Jarrett's been blocking off Biffle the last couple corners. That time Jarrett kind of went a little high. Biffle trying to get under him, but Jarrett beats him right back to the gas. Biffle got a little loose getting into turn 3. has almost every single lap. Again, looking to go low. Jarrett trying to block. Look at Dale Jarrett all the way to the inside, blocking off Greg Biffle. Biffle almost missed the braking zone. Trying to cross back over on Jarrett. She's going to have to draft behind him. Much like Indianapolis in the Brickyard 400, when you saw a lot of guys trying to block around that track during the long straightaways, trying not to let the car draft behind them too much to get a pole to get around him. And Biffle will finally clear Dale Jarrett down the Long Pond straightaway, getting a big draft off of Kevin Harvick in the 29. Biffle slides it down into turn 1, a little contact. Oh, get around Harvick one way or another. And now look at Jimmy Johnson trying to throw a block. Remember, Johnson, one of the drivers that was really blocking aggressively back in Indianapolis a few races ago. That was the last race Greg Biffle has won this season. And it was the last Crown Jewel event that we have ran as well. The next Crown Jewel event is the Coke 600. That will be coming up within a few races. Couple cars going way down low to try and block the draft. Actually kind of helped Biffle out that Sterling Marlin went all the way down there. That allowed Biffle to pull up clear of Jimmy Johnson, but he slid way up the track and Johnson gets back around him. Biffle might have been carrying too much speed going down into turn 1, and Jimmy gets back on by, but luckily Biffle kept it off the wall. Look at the 48 car blocking again. This is insane. This early in the race, how they are blocking as much as they are. Tries to cross over Johnson to the inside off of turn 2 again. We'll see if he'll get him in turn 3 this time. See Jeff Gordon in that different paint scheme. A little contact between Biffle and Gordon. Oh, Biffle clears him. Trying to stay in the draft of Bill Elliott. Marlin goes low. And he came out of the draft there, and that's going to allow actually Biffle to maybe get around him. No, Biffle could not clear him into turn 1. Tried to pinch Marlin down there, but it's so hard to run as close at high speeds like this without making contact. Both drivers did a great job that time. Ooh, the door check there. Elliott trying to block off Biffle. 3 wide going into turn 2. Marlin's in the grass. And Marlin not only went into the grass to get around Biffle, he makes contact with Elliott. What a move. That was a gutsy maneuver. Now Biffle takes it 3 wide into turn 3. A power slide. Contact with Rusty Wallace. Elliott stays clear on the outside. Biffle finally clears Marlin. Getting racy here in the early going today at Pocono. Elliott now trying to make a pass on Rusty Wallace for 4th. See Ryan Newman up there in 2nd place already. Biffle trying to draft off of Elliott and Rusty Wallace. Elliott kind of throws a block on Biffle. Biffle overran the corner slightly. Still got a good run on exit. Elliott trying to use up Rusty Wallace a little bit. Biffle willing to follow Elliott on past Wallace. Oh, contact with Elliott. He's got to slide underneath the 9 car now for 3rd off of turn 3. All the way to the inside, breaking the draft. Coming back up the racetrack. It's going to allow him to clear Bill Elliott for 3rd. Before they even get into turn 1. Elliott trying to go high, but that's not going to work. There's Ryan Newman. Oh, blown engine on the inside of the racetrack. Oh, contact! Hard crash. Ashton Lewis goes around. Rusty Wallace is involved. Greg Biffle ran right into the back of the lap car. Bill Elliott will get up to 3rd place. Biffle hit him right on the entry going into turn 2. Caution's out for the first time of the day at lap 17. They'll race back to the caution flag. Biffle only lost 1 position out of that. Hard accident there with Ashton Lewis. It doesn't look like there's too much damage on the 16, but that was just a bad timing incident there, and cars piled in behind. Again, Rusty Wallace got a big piece of it. Lewis started in last place and already has blown an engine less than 20 laps in. My, oh my, oh my. Yeah, Biffle and this team's going to stay out of the pits here and keep that track position. They are not going to restart at the back.
Watch those cars behind you. They just pitted, and they're going to be fast.
Well, it's like we actually did have a decent amount of cars hit pit road, and Greg Biffle will restart from the lead, so that did not work out at all. Biffle, the only driver to stay out, at least to lead under caution, and here we go. Lap 21, that'll give him 5 bonus points. Trying to block going into turn 1. Dale Jr. already to the inside. Can he clear? Yes, he does. Jr. clear off of turn 1. Biffle tried to stay out of the pits there. I'm surprised as many drivers came to pit road as they did, and that really stunk for Biffle. Got to be careful. Got a rival of Ryan Newman right behind him in third. Ooh, Biffle slipped the tires quite a bit there. He's still right on the back of Dale Jr. He's kind of using the draft to his advantage down these long straightaways to stick with Dale Jr., not allow him to pull away, despite the fact that they have almost 20-lap fresher tires. Jr. a lot wider angle going into turn 1, and Biffle couldn't grip up as well as he wanted to. Still trying to stay in the draft. Rusty Wallace is still to the inside of his teammate Newman for second. Biffle trying to outbrake Dale Jr. It's going to be so hard to pass that driver with the clean air right now. Clean air and fresher tires. That was a big slide too. He's sticking right with him. I mean, Biffle's driving the wheels off that thing right now. Hasn't let a green flag lap yet. Another slide going into turn 1. He's able to catch the car. Trying to get to the inside of Dale Jr., but again, Jr. just kind of holding him up as much as he can. Just kind of drafting each other down these straightaways. They're really breaking away from the rest of the pack. Biffle looking low. He couldn't quite get under Dale Jr. again. Jr. with another block. Biffle going to try to back up turn 3. Jr. got off into turn 3 really well, though. How low Junior's running, trying to break the trap, and Biffle's staying in it as much as he can. Biffle gains a little ground in turn 2. Junior trying to go for 3 wins in a 5-race stretch, and also trying to go for back-to-back wins. Make it 5 in a row as well for DEI. Pretty impressive feat that is. That was Biffle's fastest lap of the race that last time. Junior took a wider angle into the corner. Look at Biffle's car push up the track, though, with how deep he drove it into turn 1. Oh, Ricky Craven, Sterling Marlin back there in 3rd and 4th. And a great start to their afternoon. Biffle actually drove it really nice into that corner again there. Looks like this pack of cars start to slowly catch up to these two. No mistake there. And Biffle gets loose into turn 2 on top of it. That's going to allow Sterling Marlin to close the gap on him now that he's... Well, he hasn't completely lost the draft of Dale Jr., but... I mean, he's been pretty close to losing it the last lap or so now. And he's going to need all he can to keep up with him. Down the long pond straightaway, he's doing everything he can, and now he has lost the draft. So Dale Jr. beat him back to the gas off of turn 3. Biffle just too far behind to try and stay in the draft of the 8 car, and that's going to allow, finally, everybody else on those fresher tires to close in behind him, little by little. Ryan Newman going for 4th underneath of Ricky Craven. Bounce off the curb there in turn 2. Nothing much. Didn't really hurt the 16 car at all. Good corner in turn 1 that time. He's doing everything he can to try and keep those guys behind him. Just trying to hit his marks lap after lap. Breaking the draft down the second longest straightaway of the track before they get into the tunnel turn. Hard on the brakes. Saw Dale Jr. hard on the brakes up the front of the field as well. Moves off turn 2. Ryan Newman jumps up to 4th. Going all the way down low to try and break the draft again.
1 second, just 1 second back. He might try to rattle your cage.
Number 40.
Oh, look at how deep Sterling Marlin drives it in. Biffle missed the corner. And Marlin to the inside of Biffle for 2nd place. Biffle almost got the wall off of turn 1. He's going to have to let Marlin go. Oh, a little scrape off the wall. That's not going to help. We'll see if he can draft off of Marlin now. Sterling's gotten in front of him. Biffle gets loose down into turn 2. Ricky Craven back to the inside of Brian Newman, but couldn't keep the power down off of turn 2 to keep it under the 12 car. So watching out for the 16. Trying to stay in the draft of Sterling Marlin. See if that'll help. Craven back to the inside of the 12 again off of turn 3. Dale Jr.'s got just over a 1 second lead on Marlin. Another moment going off into turn 1. Oh, wow. Sterling Marlin almost got the wall off of turn 1 as well. He went wide. Craven, I think, is going to be able to clear Ryan Newman. Maybe not. I don't think he's cleared him yet. Biffle drives it hard into turn 2 again. And Craven pulls up and clears the 12 car off of turn 2. That was an aggressive clear by Craven.
I'm sure he's still angry with you.
Biffle again right behind Marlin. Drafting with him down the long pod straightaway. Pulls low to the inside. Trying to get the car to grip up. He can't get to the inside of the 40. Goes way up high. And almost got the wall. I'll tell you what. Ryan Newman and Ricky Craven have been going at it for 4th place for a while now. It's like once one gets around the other, they just try to cross each other back over. Jimmy Johnson in 6th place, trying to get into the top 5, passing the 32 and the 12 perhaps. Newman looks low again. It's going to break off any momentum Jimmy Johnson had behind him. Again, looking low. Maybe trying to break the draft that time on Marlin. Get all the way to the inside. He's staying low as they go into turn 1.
The 40 car is outside.
Oh, contact.
Number 40 is still there.
And Biffle up to second. Got him right back. Took him a handful of laps, but he was able to get him right back. Get nearer and nearer to the end of the fuel run. The good news about this track, it's so big and takes so long to get one lap in that Biffle, by pitting off sequence with everybody else, should be able to actually stay on the lead lap if we were to get another caution at some point. Biffle going down low again, trying to break the draft on Sterling Marlin. Biffle's done about as good of a job as he can on old tires. He couldn't hold off Dale Jr., and Marlin got around him, but he was able to fight to get back by Marlin. Craven still hanging on to 4th place back there on Ryan Newman. Again, going low for a quick second, back up high so he can at least arc the corner off into the tunnel turn. Same length racetrack, same length of a race in laps and mileage as the Daytona 500, the Daytona International Speedway. We're able to go roughly 36 to 40 laps on a full tank of fuel there. I would assume that would be the fuel tank here. So if these guys can go 40 laps, obviously those caution laps are going to help Biffle a little bit. I think everybody else still has to make the same amount of stops as Biffle. Biffle's just going to be pitting a little off sequence with these guys. So it'll be interesting to see. Which would be highly unlikely as well. It being so early in the race, we've already had one caution in the first 20 laps. Oh, in the wall off turn 3. He pushed a little too much there. That's the worst place to make a mistake on this racetrack, is off the exit of turn 3. Maybe not the most dangerous of situations, but so much speed you can carry down the Long Pond straightaway if you get off of turn 3 well. If you don't, I mean, it basically kills your lap time on both that lap and the next lap. Biffle likely gonna pit, not this time by, but the following time by at lap 37. Side by side for third place off of turn 1, a little bit further back. As well, a couple behind him. The group of cars just has not been spacing out at all in this race. That's very interesting. Usually don't see that at Pocono, where they're congested for this long, especially Gen 4 cars. See how much the drafting is really paying a factor here today. So Greg Biffle going to come down onto pit road. 4 fresh tires and a full tank of fuel coming. First pit stop of the day. Coming back out onto the racetrack, Biffle will get up to speed in plenty of time here for everybody else. No adjustments, 4 fresh tires and a full tank of fuel for the number 16 team. And they're back out on the racetrack now. They do have a bunch of clean air. No pressure behind them. Already 2 drivers knocked out of the race as you see Biffle running in 41st, excuse me. And now Biffle's got the freshest tires on the track by about 15 or 16 laps. Can alternate through the different camera angles now for the first time today. Before Ashton Lewis DNF'd in that last accident, plus an engine failure, Kenny Schrader actually DNF'd before him. Made it to pit row. We never saw that, but Schrader is the other driver out of the race in the early going today. Doesn't matter whether you get out of the gas or hit the brakes, it just feels like the car. She does that with other tracks in this game, but this one, I think more than any other track we've been to this season, it just wants to turn straight left immediately. 204 before the braking zone that time. Kind of seen the speeds drop off just a hair since the very, very start of the race. First couple laps. Double file initial start. Stuff ran turn 3 there. Slowed down so much. We're getting the car to turn. Biffle maybe make it a little harder on himself running in the clean air. Yes, it could be better for him, but he's not really able to follow somebody else's line like he has all day either. Remember, he has not led a lap under green. He scored the 5 bonus points because he stayed out of the pits under that last caution. Those were the only laps he's led so far. I guess with it being so early in the race as far as the strategy of everything might end up going, Could definitely work out for the 16 team. Definitely going to help them make it closer and closer and closer to the end of the race running by themselves, that's for sure. All the DNFs he's had this year, the only time he really made a mistake himself in which caused a wreck in which he DNF'd was really the Daytona road course. But even then, it was kind of more of a glitch with the game itself. The car just shot straight up the track. I mean, it bounced and then shot straight up the track. And DNF from that. All the corners on this track, it feels like turn 1 is his kryptonite right now. Seems to push up the racetrack. Not every time going through turn 1, but seems like more often than not. Solid corner through turn 2. Second time he's kind of ran it in maybe a little too hard in turn 3. Again, running by himself, it's a lot harder to judge exactly when to turn. Though he ran a lot of laps in practice, majority of them by himself then. Loose going into turn 1 that time. It pushes tight, but again, not every time you let out of the gas or get on the brakes gradually without locking them. But most of the time, he just wants to turn straight left like it did there. Usually that hasn't happened in turn 1. It's been more turns 2 and 3, kind of like right there in turn 2. It doesn't take much. If we're getting close to some traffic, that will obviously, again, be for position. He will not race by himself anymore, so that could affect the lap times compared to Dale Jr., who's basically out by himself, way ahead of the pack. If there's one long car and then kind of another big gap ahead of this car to the next car. And Dale Jr. in the lead currently at Pocono, trying to go for back-to-back wins, possibly 3 of the last 5 races if he goes to victory lane today. DEI's been on fire so far. They've won the last 4. Between Dale Jr. winning 2 and Jeff Green winning 2. Michael Waltrip still winless on the season, but he's had a strong last couple races and sitting in the top 10 in points himself right now as well. So just never know how that might be able to go. And here's Jack Sprague. These two had a run-in the last race. Biffle tried to retaliate and get back at him, and he didn't do it all that successfully, but he figured for himself that he got his payback on him. We'll see how hard Jack Sprague might race him now. Biffle going to get to his inside. Oh, man! Sprague just shot Biffle into the grass. Back up the track goes Biffle into the wall. Back in front of Sprague again and hard into the inside retaining wall. A huge crash. Jack Sprague just sent Biffle for a ride. And a hard hit into the guardrail on the inside. That is our second caution of the day. That was a terrible hit. That's going to knock a lot of speed out of that 16 car, I'd have to imagine. Biffle's coming to pit road there to repair that damage. That was a pretty hard hit. Jack Sprague just sent Biffle for a ride. He was on the inside, got under him off of turn 1, and Sprague just hit him so hard right in the door. Sent him into the grass, and Biffle was all over the place. Couldn't really catch the car. He came back up into the outside wall. That bounced him back into Sprague again, and I think he hooked himself from that point. Looks like Biffle's the only car on pit road here. 4-tire stop, no adjustments. A little mishap there on the right rear tire changer, but full tank of fuel got to top off here. So this is actually going to put everybody on a similar strategy, I believe. Biffle got back at Sprague last race, but man, that had to have knocked a ton of speed out of his race car. Green flag going to be back in the air again here at Pocono. Sprague pulling low, trying to make a pass there on David Green. So here is the restart. And Biffle hard into turn 1. Wasn't expecting that big of a checkup. Again, another instance where Greg Biffle just gets stuck in traffic. And the lap cars just do not race him kindly. Biffle looking high on Sprague. And he turns Sprague! Off of turn 2. Retaliation from Sprague wiping out Biffle a handful of laps ago. Nobody else involved, much like the prior caution. So they race back to the flag. Pretty clear to tell what happened there. That was a lot more innocent, I think, than what Sprague ended up doing to Biffle. Sprague really didn't get any damage from it outside of the original hook. Never hit the wall or anything of that nature. Tempers flaring at Pocono here today.
Time to earn your money. Those cars behind you have new tires.
Well, this might actually work out. I think a large majority of the field pitted, and they did. So Greg Biffle's right back in the lead. That works out perfectly. I guess the retaliation helped there. Trying to block Dale Jr. on the restart here. These restarts can be very crazy at Pocono as they go down into turn 1. Biffle shoves up the track into Marlin. Jr. to the inside. They're 3 wide for the lead. Bobby Labonte's up at the front of the field. Dale Jr. to the lead off of turn 1. Biffle still not yet led a green flag lap. Biffle back up to second. Dale Jr. trying to block the 16. Both cars enter low into turn 2. I don't know how they both hit the corner also, but so again, similar strategy now for all 41 cars still on the track and are on the lead lap. Just trying to draft off of Jr. Biffle hit turn 1 really well. Jr. had that little bit wider arc. I don't know if that helped or hurt him. I don't think it really... Definitely didn't hurt him. It seemed pretty equal there in turn 1. Trying to break early. Cross. Jr. back over to the bottom. He just can't do it. Jr. down low trying to break the draft. Back to the outside. He hasn't completely broken it. Biffle still trying to cling in there. Driving it hard into turn 1. Gets it to stick. These guys are on pretty equal tires. Again, Biffle pitted and we didn't even get a lap in before the next caution. Biffle hasn't lost the draft yet. Biffle actually gains ground in turn 1. I think it's clear these are the two fastest cars in the field, but Junior probably has the fastest car. Biffle has not been able to pass him all day. Pit strategy is the only reason Biffle's led laps. Again, all under caution. A heck of a restart both times by Dale Jr. to get around Biffle. Hard on the brakes again into turn 1. Drove it in a little deep. To stick pretty well. Sterling Marlin, Bobby Labonte, all the way through turn 1. And on the exit, still side by side for third place, a little further back. Biffle's starting to close back in on Dale Jr. slowly but surely, but can he get around him when he gets there is going to be the thing. Hard to pass. We saw it in traffic at the very, very start of the race within the first dozen laps. First, about lap 16 we got our first caution of the race, so pretty much up until then. Kurt Busch has jumped up to 5th place back there. We're trying to back up turn 1. I think Junior got through turn 1 just a tad bit better. Well, he did, and then he went up the track on corner exit. Maybe got a little tight. Perhaps got back into the gas a little too soon. Junior, a lot lower exit. A lot harder into turn 2 as well. Junior going a little high. Biffle hooks the bottom. Yeah, that's 2 for 2. Biffle corners on this track trying to gain on the race later. Both drivers all the way to the inside. A lot of sheer drafting going on. Allowing Biffle to, yes, stay with Dale Jr. And not only that, they kind of pulled away from everybody else too. Sure, Biffle wants to get to the lead as soon as he can, lead as many laps as he can. Junior by far has led the most, but let's see who might be able to get those 10 bonus points today. Both have already received their first 5. Argument for who might need him more. Biffle probably more desperate for him, but Dale Jr. sitting top 5 in the point standings after those last 2 victories. How low down the straightaways these guys are running. We're trying to hook the corner beautifully. It's just so hard to get the run on the 8 car. This guy's only about a second and a half ahead of Marlin. It feels like they're a lot years ahead of him. But oh, Ward Burton jumped himself up into the top 5. What a run. Biffle's close to him off of turn 1. I don't know if he's close enough to make a move yet. Oh! Got into the back of Dale Jr. into turn 2. That shoots Jr. maybe a little bit further out ahead. Both cars slowed up, though, a little bit through turn 2 because of it.
We're right there. Let's see if we can lead this thing.
Look at that launch Junior got into turn 1. We'll see if Biffle was able to beat him back to the gas by maybe braking a little bit earlier. I think he lost a little ground there. I mean, these two are so even with one another. It is insane. Biffle a lot lower entry into turn number 2, really all the way around the corner. Junior might have ran a little bit higher. Junior's going to be tough to pass once Biffle gets there. That is for sure, certain. He just gets close, but he's not all the way to the back bumper to where he's close enough to get around him either. Both cars drove it off into turn 1. This might be it. Biffle's right all over the back bumper of Dale Jr. now. Looking low. No lower to go as Junior pulls the block. Biffle trying to back up turn 2. Got a little loose on entry. Junior kind of stuck the corner perfectly all the way around and holds on to the lead. Andrew Hollenbach, welcome to the stream. By far the 2 fastest cars today. At the front, Dale Jr., Greg Biffle. Biffle's not let a green flag lap yet. Look at how low he's going. Dale Jr. all the way down the block. Into turn 1. Oh, that didn't help Biffle's corner entry. Biffle's doing everything he can. There's just nowhere else to go. There's grass down there. Biffle's got to be getting restless right now. Trying to dive underneath Junior off of turn 2. He's underneath him now, finally. Trying to side draft that left rear corner panel, but Junior, I believe, got down in front of him again. Biffle drives it in deep into turn 3. Oh, clipped the grass, washes back up the track, and Junior still holds on to the lead, beating him back to the gas. And a big pull on corner exit. Biffle's going to have to reel him in down the Long Pond straightaway in the draft once more. Approaching lap 70 in this one. 3 cautions already today. How much power is missing out of that 16 after Jack Sprague put him down in the grass, and Biffle took a hard hit into the inside wall earlier. Biffle all over the 8 car again. Might have an opportunity to get around him into turn 1. All the way to the bottom. Oh, man, both cars going to drive it in deep. Oh, Junior just drove Biffle into the grass. There was contact. Both cars were not given an inch there. Biffle staying low, going into turn 2. Biffle's got to run. Can he clear the 8 car? Not yet. Junior getting a run on the outside. It's been a little better in turn 3 majority of the time today, but Biffle is going to slide in front of him off of turn 3. Biffle's in the wall. Back down into Earnhardt. Heavy contact with both of them. Biffle to the lead. First green flag lap he's led today. Biffle overdrove turn 3, trying to clear Dale Jr., bounced off the wall, and then right back into Dale Jr. Second place now all over the back bumper. That was an ugly last lap for both drivers. Jr. threw a very aggressive block and put Biffle in the grass going into turn 1. Biffle tried to aggressively clear him off of turn 3, put it in the wall, and then bounce back into Earnhardt. Kind of unbelievable there. Definitely a heck of a sequence, I'll tell you guys that much. And alternate through the different camera angles one final time in today's race. Now the Biffle's got his first lead of the race as far as the green flag laps are considered. And you're going to try to reel him back in. So they're slowly building up as allies before that incident. That Junior isn't really upset with him about it, but you can fault both drivers for it. Biffle drove it too hard in turn 3. Earlier in the lap in turn 1, Junior drove it too hard, so kind of evened itself out, I guess, at the end. And Biffle ended up with the lead after all. Just behind him is Sterling Marlin. I think the draft with both of those guys is allowing them to catch Greg Biffle, with Biffle out by himself again. We have seen the draft play huge dividends today. Insane. We kind of saw the similar thing at Michigan. But I think it's worked out a little bit better today than what it did there. We saw it a little bit at Indianapolis as well, but I think, again, we've seen it a little bit more here in this one. Looks like Junior's had a little bit better straightaway speed today than Greg Biffle as well. They're hit or miss in the corners with one another, but Biffle really, I think, has only been able to stick with them because of the draft. Look how quickly Dale Jr. closes in. Going in so deep into turn 1. So he closes in closer to that back bumper of Greg Biffle. See how hard Dale Jr. drives it into turn 1 this lap. Pretty hard again. the 3 turns on the track, I think that's Biffle's worst. He's more inconsistent in turn 3, but when he's on, he's definitely on in turn 3. Again, that's really helped him down the straightaways, too, when he gets those opportunities there. Marlin's keeping up with Dale Jr. since he has gotten back in the draft, too. His car seemingly a little bit faster than 1, even though the 1 has the clean air on in front of the field. Last time you saw anybody pull away, it was Dale Jr. after Biffle pitted for a green flag stop a little earlier in the race. Biffle about 1/10 of a second quicker that last lap. The 8 and the 40, definitely a little bit wider entry into turn 1 there, trying to hit their apex in the center of the corner and get the drive off. Perhaps a better drive off. First of 2 trips to Pocono Raceway this season. Of course, again, this one is the Pocono 500. Both of these 2 races at this track this year are 500 miles, but let's see here. Seeing pit stops here not too far away from now. Times have fallen off about 1 second already over the course of this run. Nobody's really able to get away. It's just so hard to pass the leader. Pass cars in general around this track, but passing the leader is a whole different task. Little mistake getting into turn 2. Will kind of lightly graze the wall. Didn't capitalize as much as I thought he was going to originally either. On a 1 second lead now. Ricky Craven still hanging out there, and Ford Kenseth looking for perhaps back-to-back top 5s today. He's in 5th. I have to imagine Biffle will be the first car in the pit road, but I guess we're not entirely sure yet. Stick with the far chase cam now for the rest of the race. Just over an hour in. Well, just finally starting to lightly pull away over the course of this run. Jacob Westbrook, welcome to the stream. Green flag pit stops coming up here very shortly at Pocono. Probably within the next handful of laps. We'll likely be pitting in the next 3 to 5 laps. So pretty decent sized pack of cars. Out on the track, but Biffle trying to log in laps led here. Hasn't led many of them today, maybe about 20 laps. Tires are getting, really all 4 of them are at a decent amount of wear built upon them. Jimmy Johnson on the pole for the Brickyard, that's awesome. Definitely the biggest lead that Greg Biffle's had in this race. We'll see how big it has grown at the start-finish line here. 3.3 second lead at the line. Junior's only about 0.3 of a second ahead of Sterling Marlin. Wow, Biffle almost 0.7 of a second faster than Junior that last lap. Junior struggled mightily. I think something happened because Junior pulled away a little bit more, a couple tenths ahead of Marlin that last lap too. So I don't know if they maybe got together. That could have been possible. Now about a 4-second lead at the line. Biffle's going to stay out of the pits one more lap. He'll be coming to pit road the following time by. A little less than a gallon of fuel left. Try to stretch this fuel tank out as far as he can. Running some fast times compared to everybody else. Another 0.7 of a second faster for Biffle that last lap. He's really pulling away at the end of the run. Shaky getting down into turn 1. So, Greg Biffle will pit from the lead, this time by. Everybody on a similar strategy, not exactly the same. Biffle Likely going to pit a few laps earlier than these guys, but practically the same strategy. He got split apart after the first caution, but after the third caution, it pretty much went about back to normal again. This is the longest green flag run of the race so far. And Biffle will hit pit road this time. A lot of lap cars on pit road as well. Make sure not to speed. 70 miles an hour is the pit road speed limit. We're going to see a decent amount of drivers come down into the pits as well. More damage to repair for the 16. Another pit stop for these guys. First green flag stop of the day for really anybody. Guess Biffle would have made one a little bit earlier, but there we go. He was able to pit under under caution a few laps after he pitted under green. That kind of split the strategy apart. He's going to come out at 16th. A decent amount of drivers hit pit road that last lap, but not all of them. I have to imagine, with Biffle having a 4.7 second lead when he came to pit road, that he will likely have the lead coming to pit road again. Or I should say when everything cycles through and everybody else comes to pit road. It's good for him. He can get more laps led. String this lead out maybe a little bit more. I do not have NASCAR 06 currently, no, but I plan on playing it in this kind of like side series, I guess if you'd say. Again, we're kind of working our way up, like every game from this year on up. Not going to play through the NASCAR Heat series again, but some games I will have played and some I wouldn't have. That's one game I have played, though, but I just don't have a ton of experience with it. Kind of like this game. Like, I can remember playing this game, but it's definitely a different experience, that's for sure. You get used to PS4 for so long. I mean, before I started playing this, it's been every bit of at least 10 years since I played this game. It felt really weird coming back to it. Analog stick just feels really touchy compared to on a PS4 with NASCAR Heat. I believe that's a lap car a little bit further up ahead. I don't believe it is a driver that is already come to pit road. Race leader's in the pits right now. And this is going to be likely where Greg Biffle will take the lead. Yep, there it is. So Biffle back in the lead. It'll be a lead change officially at the start-finish line this time by, and we'll get to see just how big of a gap he'll have on second place. Short-run car with clean air. We don't know what Biffle's really got because he hasn't really had that opportunity to lead laps at the beginning of a run yet. Again, he hasn't led that many, maybe 30 laps now total, so definitely hasn't been many laps led, that's for sure. Junior has led the most up to this point as we are almost halfway home at Pocono. I just think if this was, this season's length of races, we'd only have anywhere between like 30 to like 45 laps to go or so right now. So 130 laps and 140 in the two races this season. Because of the doubleheader, they shorten the lengths of both races. And this was obviously even before they shortened it the first time to 400 miles for both races. I think the first race they did that was 2012, if I'm not mistaken. Might have been 2011. Whatever year it was that Joey Logano beat out Mark Martin. I want to say it was 2011. First year they... Well, I don't know. It would have been the last year that Joey Logano was in the 20 car, too. So I guess it was 2012, because I think Logano's first year in the 22 was 2013, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody might have to fact check me on that one, but I think I'm going to go, I guess, lock in my final answer and say 2012 was the last year that races were 500 miles each. Sure who that first lap car is up here. Again, a lot of drivers on the lead lap. Those 3 cautions in the first 50 laps of the race kind of allowed a lot of these guys to stay on the lead lap through all of it. People only lost the lead for what, maybe 2 or 3 laps there before getting back into the lead with the cycling to stops. Dale Jr. has closed the gap, though. Remember, he was 4.7 seconds off the lead before the pit stops. He's 2.5 behind Biffle now. Jack Sprague, Greg Biffle had a little bit of a run-in earlier in the race today. We'll see. He was first car Biffle caught earlier in the race. Sprague turned him, Biffle turned him back. I'm sure Sprague is still really upset with it. It's not going to be an easy pass for Biffle when he gets up there. Yeah, I figured 2013 was that year. I'm just trying to think the Pocono. What year? What? I think it was 2012 that he won that race, but it might have went to 400 miles the year before that. I'm thinking 2012 was the first year Pocono had 400-mile races. So they were 500 pretty much since its existence before that. Both races, too. Junior's closing the gap on Biffle. Dale Jr. is the fastest car on the track, only 1.6 seconds off the lead now. Jacob playing this on a PS2, by the way. Man, Junior's really closing the gap. He drove it hard into turn 2, and that is Jack Sprague. Not too far ahead of Greg Biffle. That'll be the first car Biffle's going to catch, but that's unless Dale Jr. catches Biffle before Biffle catches Sprague, because, well, Sprague's a lot slower. They could allow that to happen, but still. Pretty insane right here. Biffle going to try to break the draft at the start-finish line. I think Junior's close enough to get the draft yet. He's still 1 second off the lead, but he is closing fast. So we're near the halfway point. Maybe Biffle can get a little bit of a draft off Sprague. Oh yeah, Sprague is really, really upset. And Biffle turned him because Sprague had retaliated back after Biffle retaliated the track before. They've literally been retaliating at each other the last couple races here. Sprague all the way on the inside. Biffle checking up into turn 3. Sprague's already starting to slow him down a little bit. This is not going to be an easy pass, and Dale Jr. is closing in. Biffle going high, trying to get to the outside of Sprague. This might not work out that well. I'm not entirely sure. If we're going to try to cross him back over to the inside, but Dale Jr. is coming, and Sprague is not coming off the bottom. And they're catching up on David Green up here as well now. Biffle trying to get a pull. Oh, Sprague just put Biffle in the wall. And here comes Jr. Now Biffle's loose into turn 2, and Dale Jr. is closing in on Greg Biffle. Well, the outside didn't work. Biffle shoots Sprague back up the track. Sprague just sends Biffle into the grass. Sprague hit the curbing, shot back up the racetrack. That slowed Jr. down, but obviously not as much as it slowed Biffle down, but Biffle will get around him finally, one way or another. But here comes Dale Jr. Now all of a sudden looking for the lead. All over the back of the 16, and Sterling Marlin is closing the gap now as well. We'll be halfway this time by. 100 laps will be completed out of 200. David Green will be the next lap car ahead of Biffle. Yes, the rivals are way worse in this game. Probably worse than I think any other NASCAR game. I mean, the EA like series in general, it's kind of like this, but I think it's just way worse in this game. We're going all the way down to break the draft at the bottom of the track. So we're halfway home as he tries to get by David Green. Well, he gets to his inside, but he couldn't clear him. I think Dale Jr. kind of drafted with him. Biffle slides up the track, clears David Green, and Dale Jr. now has to get by Green himself. Into turn 2, Jr. closes the gap to the back bumper again of Biffle. So we've got a battle for the lead. Sterling Marlin now has cleared David Green into turn 3. Trying to close the gap himself maybe on the top 2. Biffle all the way down trying to break the draft, making sure Dale Jr. doesn't get a run on him. Biffle about 1/10 of a second faster the last lap. He's doing everything he can to minimize the amount of ground Jr. is gaining on him. Jr. the big run, looking high. That's not going to work in turn 1. It's going to allow Biffle to hold on to the lead, but Jr. is right there. Off into turn 2. Decent amount of space before the next lap car. That's going to help out the 16 a little bit. See, Junior might have to wait until the next couple lap cars who are actually kind of close to one another, but they're a little bit of a ways out there. If we're going to stay high this time, we're going to see how much of a run Junior might get in the draft this time. He's getting a little bit of a run. Oh, wow, gets to the outside, trying to get on that right rear corner panel. Biffle's protecting the bottom, especially in turn 1. Making sure Junior doesn't drive it in deep and get around him there. Seems like Biffle drives it in deeper in turn 2. And Junior drives it in a little deeper in turn 1. These guys continue to battle for the lead. Oh, Junior went wide. He almost got in the wall. Sterling Marlin trying to gain whatever ground he can. Could be a 3-car battle for the lead here before long. Biffle got a little tight, center of the corner. Junior trying to cross him back over. Couldn't do it. Junior's looking low all the way down the second straightaway of the track. I think he's going to drive it in deep into turn 2. He does, but he's got nowhere to go. Junior pushed hard Biffle, pushed hard into turn 3. Junior had nowhere to go, kind of got into him, and Junior will take the lead at the line. And here comes Marlin. Biffle got really tight. He got back in the gas way too soon through turn 3. Pushed up the track. Dale Jr. to the lead. Mistake by Biffle. Biffle trying to run him back down. Biffle a little better in turn 1. Now trying to get in the draft of Junior himself. Out into the braking zone there. Turn 2. Junior trying to protect the bottom. Biffle in the draft. Oh, he's gaining ground down the long pond straightaway. Look at the amount of a run he is getting on Dale Jr. They go off into turn 1. Biffle looks low, shoots the gap to the inside. Can he clear him? Yes. Biffle to the lead off of turn 1. Junior was able to lead for 2 laps, and that was it. That was a power move. Biffle had one heck of a run. Now he goes down low to try and break the draft on Junior. Oh, Biffle slides into turn 2. Junior had nowhere to go to pass him, though. Oh, Junior in the wall off of turn 3. Oh, he's going to lose a ton of ground there. About a second and a half back at the line and probably more. That's going to kill his speed, and Marlin's going to close in now on Junior for second. Junior got the wall pretty hard, too. We got a couple more lap cars up here and another rival of Greg Biffle's. It's Mike Skinner in the 4. Trying to maybe look on the outside of Kevin Grubb, and yeah, Skinner's pretty upset too, so it's going to be maybe another Jack Sprague incident here. We're going to try to get around him cleanly. Oh, Grubb slowed up the momentum there of Skinner. Best chance is for Biffle to look all the way to the inside. Look at Grubb going all the way down low. Maybe trying to break a little bit of a draft as Biffle tries to clear them both, and he will. Slides. At least he cleared Skinner. That was his best chance to get around Skinner. What's Grubb got to his inside off of turn 3. Biffle tried to follow him. Made a nice clean pass on both drivers. Now LePage. Oh, contact. I don't think LePage is upset enough to trying to swipe Biffle. Oh, now he might be. Slid a little too much in turn 3 again, but at least he clears LePage. Oh, LePage got the wall off of turn 3 too. Ricky Craven's up to second. Junior's outside the top 5 after he got the wall. Man, what a run by Ricky Craven today. Paulie gonna give Biffle a ton of room. It's around him easily. A lot of space before the next lap car now for Biffle. Look at that train of cars in between turns 2 and 3 there on that track map. Seems like things are congested back there like they've been most of the day, and then it's just so separated beyond that point. A 2.6 second lead for Greg Biffle and his crew right now. Oh man, Fittipaldi just ran right into the back of Biffle into turn 1. Not sure what that was all about. Wow. That was an ally nonetheless. I don't know. Fittipaldi just missed the corner completely. Biffle a ton of room to get back around him in turn 2 for the second straight lap. That might loosen this race car up quite a bit more. That damage to the rear bumper. Gotta watch the fuel cell back there. That was insane.
Your right front tire's wearing down. Try another line or you won't last.
I mean, Fittipaldi just flat out missed turn 1. Ran a lot higher that time. He wasn't really close to Biffle that time going into turn 1 either. Power slide through turn 3. Using the curbing to kind of straighten himself back out. .3 second lead. Ryan Newman has jumped up to second place. Him and Biff will have a score to settle here. That's kind of been the story for Ryan Newman. He qualifies really well this season, and then he kind of fades back in the early going of the race, but by the end of the race, he's right back in the top 10 again. That's what you're kind of seeing here. He qualified in 6th. Got the top 5 early. Actually jumped up to second really early in the race behind Junior. Junior kind of pulled away from the field, and Newman started to finally slowly fall back, but Newman has worked himself back up again to second place. But this time behind Biffle, and Newman has not led a lap yet today, so I'm sure he'll look for 5 bonus points if he can get there, and just have to wait and see. Pretty even lap times between the top 2 right now. Junior's back up to 4th, by the way, so he's trying to get back through. Sterling Marlin fell back to 5th in the process of all that, too. I'm sure lap traffic had a large part of why all that happened. Blown engine on the inside of the racetrack and very slow. Looked like Casey Mears on the 41. That is the 3rd blown engine we've seen today. First one since the first 20 laps of the race, too. Tough break for Casey Mears. Not his first blown engine this year either. A 3-second lead for Newman. Newman might have gotten slown up that last lap behind the lap car Casey Mears, who was up in smoke. Newman lost a ton of time that last lap, about 0.4 of a second. I don't think Biffle's that much faster than him. Sadler giving a ton of room to Biffle through turn 3. Kind of ran a lot higher through turn 2 as well. Either way, Biffle will get right around him.
Careful
Side by side for position up here, but both drivers about to go a lap down. Bodine kind of running Kenny Wallace up the track, not giving Wallace a lot of room. Oh, Wallace just ran right into the side of Biffle. Biffle trying to hang on to it. Wallace tried to cross over on Bodine, I believe. I don't think he realized Biffle was down there. Never want to see the race leader in that kind of an incident. Biffle drives it in deep into turn 1. Underneath Wallace. Rub and run that time. Saying, hey, I was down there before. That right front's got a little bit of damage to it, but at least we're close to green flag pit stops right now. 16 team will repair it.
Best place for him is in your rear view mirror.
Bounce off the curb. Nearing 80 laps to go here tonight at Pocono. Dale Jr. is back up to 3rd place. Yep. Bobby Hamilton up to 4th. He's kind of been lingering around 5th all day. He had that one restart, he jumped up to 2nd, almost got to the lead. That was the last restart we had, in fact. Quite some time ago. Our last caution came out at lap 48, so this has been a pretty long green flag run. We have had 3 cautions up to this point today. Five-second lead. Yeah, that's the largest lead of the race for Biffle. Likely 2 more pit stops left the rest of the way, I'd have to imagine. Dark those tire marks are going into turn 2. It's only going to get darker over there as the race carries on. Lap 120. Hamilton. Bobby Labonte has jumped up to 3rd place now, and Dale Jr. getting himself back into 3rd there. Jr. after getting up to 3rd the lap before, I don't know if Labonte just flat out crossed him back over. A couple laps later, maybe lap traffic had to deal with it, I'm not sure. Another lap car in the near future for Biffle. Probably next lap he'll catch him. Yep, Tim, this is still live. Wow, that was a big slide. This lap car ran a lot higher there through turn 3. That's Steve Park in the 30. Qualified near the back. He's still running pretty decently near the back of the field yet. And Junior that last lap able to get right back by Labonte again. If we got really loose, little slide job in turn 1 to get by Steve Park. But as much of a slide job as you're going to get there. Big power slide on the bottom of the track. Cleared him a lot more room to run. I don't think he's going to catch another lap car before he has to hit pit road. So that'll be nice. It'll give him plenty of room to run. He creates some separation on Park as well before he comes to pit road. Make sure he doesn't speed. Got caught for speeding in the race yesterday early on at Dover. That was the first green flag stop we had then. And that was the first pit road speeding penalty he's had all season. It took him 13 races to have that happen to him. Dale Jr. only about 0.3 of a second now behind Ryan Newman as well for second, but Jr. lost a ton of time after getting in the wall off turn 3. Again, he was on the back bumper of Greg Biffle. Biffle had only passed him the lap before, and then Jr. hit the wall and immediately lost a ton of time. So he's trying to claw back into it. Jr.'s had the fastest car today. Maybe his crew can have a fast pit stop and they can close the gap on Biffle again during these next set of pit stops. Could see some short pitting going on as well right now. Doesn't tell who exactly was pitting. Not many drivers came to pit road that time through. Sure, you're going to see a lot more of them come this time. Biffle's going to stay out of the pits at least one more lap. Oh, another slide through turn 3. Still trying to catch the car. Curbing straightened him out a little bit. Moving a little bit faster that last lap. Cars just coming off of pit road now. Just up ahead. I don't think Biffle's going to catch them. They're still trying to get up to speed, but another bigger power slide there. Biffle's going to stay out of the pits one more lap. About a half a gallon of fuel left. So Biffle will stay out of the pits one more lap, another 2.5 miles, and he'll pit at lap 125. Ryan Newman just coming out of the pits on the bottom. Biffle well clears him going into turn 1. Almost washed up into the wall off of turn 1 there, but in a large portion of the cars. Oh no! Biffle ran out of gas in the short chute of turns 1 and 2. Let's Mark Martin get by on the inside. I did not think he was going to run out of gas that quickly. That's going to cost him a ton of time. He's got to go well over a mile to get to pit road from when he ran out of gas before he even got into turn 2. Oh man. Probably should have taken that shortcut there on the access road. Christian Fittipaldi kind of checking up here. Oh, man, David Green not checking up at all. Got some cars coming to pit road. Biffle trying to stay out of their way. There's Ricky Craven, who runs right into Biffle. And you saw that at Dover at one point yesterday as well, and that is going to lose him a ton of time. Biffle had about a 7-second lead. That was not ideal. They need a quick pit stop to make up for that now. He had about a half a gallon left coming to the, well, really to turn 3, so he basically had to make it another 2.5 miles. He didn't even make it 2 miles from that point. On a half a gallon. I guess he knows that for next time, but look at the time he's losing on pit road. There goes Kenseth and Craven, who passed him. Barely beat Biffle on the pit road. That was a slower pit stop for the 16 team. There you see Rusty Wallace. Biffle emerges back up onto the racetrack. Nobody around him. Somebody had to check up behind Rusty Wallace in turn 1. That is a tough break for the 16 car. No clue exactly where and when Dale Jr. might have pitted. I guarantee Biffle lost well more than his 7 seconds that he had on Ryan Newman before the pit stops. Big slide going into turn 1. I'm trying to get up to speed up here. Not sure exactly who that might be. If we're trying to get in a draft of them, not quite close enough to do it. Almost overran turn 2. Hard on the brakes again there. The tunnel turn. Well, Biffle's got some ground to make up. Still a decent amount of a race to go. Try and catch these guys, and we have one more pit stop still remaining today as well. Definitely has to make sure he doesn't do what he just did there. Or when he does have to come to pit road.
Keep an eye on your mirror. He's not too happy with it. You're clear.
Currently the race leader, not sure who it is, but they have not pitted yet. How big of a lead they've got. Biffle definitely didn't lose that much time. To second place, Ryan Newman, so. Maybe that is Dale Jr. himself, who knows.
Try to keep him behind you.
Lost a little bit of ground, maybe he's trying to go off strategy now. Although I don't think staying out longer than everybody else is going to be the difference maker there, especially on a track like this. I mean, you can short pit at this racetrack and really it won't cost you anything as long as you're within a half a lap of the lead. You'll be able to hold on to your lap. You wouldn't even lose a lap. Now the race leader's on pit road. See if these guys can cycle through. Biffle's just coming off of turn 1. Not the second longest straightaway of the racetrack. Wallace and Biffle have been pretty equal with one another since coming out of the pits. Yeah, so lead was changed there, not officially at the start-finish line, but was changed. You see Biffle back in the top 10. I'm going to be surprised if he lost this much ground. If he lost 9 positions out of this, that is going to be insane. There's a pretty large gap to the race leader right now as well that Biffle's going to have to make up. So he's likely going to have at least probably 0.7 gallons left in the car when he makes the final lap. He was at 0.8 earlier, made it. And he thought he made it with a decent amount of gas left, so he was thinking that a half a gallon was going to be good enough to make a lap around here, but that just wasn't the case. At least by their estimations. Definitely costly. Yeah, Ricky Craven, Sterling Marlin definitely both had slow pit stops themselves too, and a slow pit stop from Biffle on top of that incident obviously didn't help either. Michael Turner, welcome to the stream. Home track at Pocono, nice. Yeah, I was supposed to be there for the doubleheader this year. Unfortunately, because they raced without fans, I couldn't go. So I will definitely be there next year for the Pocono doubleheader. I was looking forward to that. 2 races in 2 days, Cup Series-wise. I was excited for it. Could not only cross the racetrack off the NASCAR bucket list, because I haven't been there in person yet, but could have said I saw 2 more Cup races to add to my grand total. Next car, actually, Biffle's going to catch as a lap car of Brett Bodine. Wouldn't even be for position. Rusty Wallace will slowly kind of close that gap on Biffle as well. I'm planning on attending the Daytona 500. I'm not 100% sure on that. As much as I want to, and I've wanted to go the last couple years, and I couldn't get myself out there to do it. My work situation right now is I don't have as much time off. If I should say I have enough time off. Like, I could go. The problem is if I go there, I'm likely not going to be able to get to many more tracks after that. And I have so many racetracks that I have my tickets renewed because I couldn't go last year. I don't know on that. The only way I would go and make up time for it, I'm doing this contest. It's like an NFL picks contest. And obviously there's 7 weeks to go, and you have to pick a different team every week, whatever. But if you get all the way through the end of the season, you win $125,000. And I'm still in it. If I somehow won that, I'm definitely going to go. But outside of that, I don't think I'm going to be able to go. Oh, man, big moment there into turn one. Biffle got really loose. Shot up the track. Wallace now all over his back bumper. Rusty Wallace, that is. Jeff Burton not too far behind Rusty. Biffle in the draft of Brett Bodine now, kind of pulling away from Rusty. Going into turn two. Wallace to the inside. Biffle pinching him down there. They're racing clean, but they're racing hard. 2022, there would be a very good... If I don't go next year, then yeah, 2022, definite possibility. Oh, man! A little contact there. Biffle still trying to catch the race car. Jeff Burton slides by both his teammate and Rusty Wallace. Large amount of ground lost there for Biffle. Wallace was already on the curb and he couldn't go any lower, and Biffle just kind of cut him off and about turned himself. 14 seconds off the lead now.
Keep him behind you if you can.
Going inside.
Bill Elliott now trying to get around Greg Biffle. Lap cars are holding up the progress of Jeff Burton and Rusty Wallace, who just got by Greg Biffle last lap. Brett Bodine holding them up, and as well as that other lap car. Couldn't tell exactly who it was that was in front of Bodine. How perfect you have to be all the way through the race to win one of these races. It's amazing how we won 4 races in a row in the first 10 races of the season. And things were actually looking pretty good. We have not led in the points all year, but we've been as high as 3rd in the point standings. I guess we were technically tied for the lead with Harvick after the Daytona 500, but we have not had the outright lead yet. Biffle gets around Brett Bodine, lap car pretty easily. Hermie Sadler will be the next lap car. Wallace trying to get back around Jeff Burton. Really missed 500-mile races at Pocono. Yeah, if you're ever there, like in person, I could see, missing a 500-mile race because it's more action at the track. I do agree, though, with the fact, I'm not really all for that much of shortening races, but I don't think there should be any 500-mile races outside of Daytona 500. Your crown jewel events, Southern 500, Coke 600 should still be 600 miles. Daytona 500 should still be 500, maybe Talladega, maybe one Talladega race at 500 miles. Hermie Sadler is blocking Biffle up a ton right now, and I'm not sure why. Biffle drives it hard into turn 3 to get around him now. It's going to clear him off of turn 3. Oh, Sadler bounced off the wall, too. Really allows Biffle to clear him. Yeah, it would be a lot worse, a loose lug nut. But that also means that, well, they're not going to... See, the problem is there could still be loose wheel penalties. Or not loose wheel penalties, but loose wheels even with a single lug nut, because teams are still going to try to absolutely go as quick as they can to get a pit stop in. So even with a single lug nut, yeah, you only have one lug nut. People could probably figure, oh, well, they're obviously going to secure it. But that's not necessarily true. Now, granted, because it's a single lug nut, if it was, say, pit stops under caution, I mean, that thing wouldn't make it even under caution. Biffle slid into the wall barely off of turn 1. Oh, nice. You've been there quite a few times then. Yeah, most times I've been at a single track is Michigan, because that's my home track. I've been there 5 times now for a race in person. Fortunately, they only got one date now, so... Kind of stinks. I was, used to going to 2 races there every year for the last couple of years, and then, obviously this year with the pandemic couldn't go because they ran without fans, and then they only got 1 race there now next year. But I understand they don't really need 2 races at Michigan. I just liked it simply, again, it's my home track. It's the only track within an hour and a half of me. Everywhere else, next closest was Kentucky, and now they might not even race there anymore either. And that was about 3.5 hours. Indianapolis is about 4 hours. Definitely want to go see the road race there next year. I was there for the Brickyard 400 in 2018. That was a pretty good race too. But then Chicagoland 4 hours, and they might not race there either. So yeah, outside of Indianapolis, 4 hours away. I think the next closest track would be technically Road America, because they're coming in, but that's about 6 hours. I'd love to live in like the Charlotte hub area, somewhere in that region where I have like 4 or 5 tracks within like 3 or 4 hours. Oh, that'd be awesome. Like 3 of them within a couple hours. They race multiple races at all those tracks too. Literally see 10 races without having to drive more than 3 or 4 hours. That'd be perfect. Got 10 people currently watching here as we get closer and closer to the end of this race. Almost a quarter, or 3/4 of the way home here in this one. Lap 142 of 200. Subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. We do these full race live streams with a realistic broadcast on the daily. This has had its eventful moments today. Biffle's lost a lot of ground under the last set of pit stops with both a slow stop and, of course, running out of fuel before he even got into turn 2 coming to that pit stop. He had about a 7-second lead. He's obviously lost the lead and then some. How far do I live from Kansas Speedway? I think that's like 10 or 11 hours, if I'm not mistaken. I think it would have been like an hour longer drive compared to what it took for me to get to Talladega this year. Talladega is the furthest I've driven to get to one track so far. That was about 10, almost 10 and a half hours for me. That's not including the time change, because I went from Eastern time zone to Central, so that's not including the time change. It was still 10 hours. If I would have included the time change, then it would have only been 9 hours to get there, but yeah, I had to include it, obviously. Biffle's been pretty even with the leader. I mean, he's been about 14 and a half seconds back the whole time, but he's definitely not gaining any ground. Three tracks within 4 hours: Pocono, Dover, Watkins Glen. Yeah, I was thinking about going to Dover next year, but with some newer tracks on the schedule, I'd like to go to, like Road America. I guess if that's the next closest track outside of Michigan and Indy to me, I'll probably make the attempt to go there. Plus, it's the first Cup race there, so that'd be pretty cool. I definitely like to go there. I have been to Watkins Glen. I was there 2019. "45 minutes from Kansas, nice." Yeah, that's true. I actually did look at that. Road America had a cup race before. It was a 4-mile road course at that time too. I don't know if the configuration was the same or not, but that's insane. Especially back in those days, it was probably so unsafe to race there. All over the back of Rusty Wallace. Looking low, but Wallace is blocking him off right now, trying to hold on to 11th. Wallace went high going into turn 3. Biffle underneath him, trying to keep the power down, but a little bit of a mishap in the center of the corner, and Biffle wasn't able to get around him. Up 13.5 back now. Biffle looking all the way low. Wallace is down there. Oh, he blocks him into the grass. Heavy contact between the two cars. Going into turn 1. That was much like what Dale Jr. did to Biffle earlier. Biffle was all the way there. He was on that left rear corner panel. And Rusty just kept running him down. I don't know how they didn't completely wreck there and bring out a caution, but we stay green. Yeah, I think the fewest amount of cautions I've ever seen in a race was when I was at Kentucky in 2018. They only had 2 cautions per incident the whole race. I think Michigan August race, not 2019, but I think it was 2018, only had 2 cautions that day too. 2 or 3. So I remember both of those races like flew by. Watkins Glen, I think, only had 2 or 3 when I went. That was definitely the race that flew by the most. That race was less than 2.5 hours. I think when I looked on Racing Reference, it was like 2 hours and 15 minutes or 2 hours 20 minutes, something like that. That was such a quick race. Biffle is the fastest car on the track right now, but he obviously doesn't have the track position. He's back in 11th, so far off the lead. And he's going to need a caution at some point before the end of this race if he's going to want to get back into it. Now, if he catches Ryan Newman at any point in time, he owes Newman a payback here. It wasn't last race, but the 3 races before Dover, Newman had wiped him out each one of those races at least once. Biffle never really got a chance to get payback on him. Oh, and Craven just blocks off Biffle now. A little contact. These guys are blocking so aggressively here. Craven hugging the inside. Going off into turn 1. Biffle trying to run him back down again. Craven Locking Biffle all the way to the inside. Biffle trying to cross him back over, go high, and go back to the inside off of turn 2. He is there. Craven hanging on. Barely squeezing underneath Ricky. But again, he can't get the power down to really get around him. Craven just keeps killing his momentum. 50 laps to go at the line. Oh, almost some contact there. Clean pass, though. And now back into the top 10 for the 16 of Biffle. In the draft of Jeff Burton now. Driving it hard, going into turn 2. Trying to make up all that time. Man, he has lost so much since the beginning of this race. We have seen a ton of blocking today, but I think there has been more aggressive blocking in the last half a dozen laps than we have seen all day, and it's from guys not really even battling for the lead either. Biffle to the outside. Jeff Burton. Maybe trying to fake high and cut to the bottom. Off of turn 1, he is. He's going to get there for the moment. Still going to look low going into turn 2. He needs to, but Jeff Burton's pulling away a little bit again. Biffle on the brakes hard. Almost spun out going into turn 2. These guys are blocking so aggressively with less than 50 to go now. Making it so hard for the 16. He's so fast compared to these guys, but he's got no room to race openly. Big power slide in turn 3. Loses more ground to Jeff Burton off the curbing. Gets in the draft down the Long Pond straightaway, trying to make that time back up again. 11.3 off the lead. Again, we are likely only one pit stop away from the finish. Burton again blocking, and the weird thing is these two are teammates. And how hard Burton has been blocking Biffle. Biffle just can't even get alongside of him. He can get to his outside, but that's about it. Back out of the gas maybe a little early there off of turn 3. Biffle all over him off of turn number 3. Looking low. Oh, big slide. Biffle just gets under him. Down to that left rear quarter panel. He'll clear Burton in one fell swoop there in turn 1. Finally able to make the pass. Yeah, Tim, that same thing happens in this game. I think I've done it like maybe twice this season where it just looped right around. Got good capability with my car control 9 times out of 10 that I'm able to keep control about as much as I can, but it's only so much. Jeremy Mayfield will be the next car ahead of Biffle. I believe Mayfield's a lap down, if I'm not mistaken. Like his teammate Bill Elliott, who has been just outside the top 10 all day. Black Ace, welcome to the stream. Nice clean pass on the lap car of Mayfield through turn 3. Clears him on the exit of the corner. Biffle less than 10 seconds, about 9.5 seconds off the lead. Biffle's pushing hard right now. He is really fast at the very end of the run, but He's lost so much time before that point. He tries to get back into this. Lap car of Steve Park in the way of Biffle. Biffle just gets to his outside. Hopefully he can clear him before the braking zone in turn 2. And he barely clears him. A little loose there. Hangs on to it. Down on the curbing, Mark Martin trying to block Biffle off. Biffle to his inside into turn 3. Martin just clears out his teammate. Pretty heavy contact. Martin went high. Biffle holds on and now moves up to 8th, but both cars lost a lot of ground. Biffle back to 8.9 off the lead again. These guys have just not cut Biffle a break, whether they're teammates or not, rivals or not, it doesn't matter. I mean, they have been aggressively blocking him so hard over the last 15 to 20 laps. Again, likely one pit stop away from the finish. Got to stretch this run out as long as they can.
And now you're gonna be out of gas.
Got some cars hitting pit road this time by as well.
Leaders are coming in together.
Not sure if any of the leaders are coming down or not. I think some of them are leaders that are coming down. We'll see if the positions change at the line here for Biffle to dictate whether that's the case or not.
3 seconds behind the leaders. Stay smooth. We'll
Yeah, one driver on the lead lap ahead of Biffle came to pit road. It was Ryan Newman. So Newman comes to pit road a little early, trying to short pit. Hard on the brakes into turn 2 as he closes in on Tony Stewart. Stewart coming to pit road. Gives Biffle the position easily there. Biffle about 6.8 off the lead. Stewart the only one of the lead lap cars to pit that time by. I don't know if those guys pitting now can make it to the end of the race. That is really close to call. I don't think we've seen anybody go well over 40 laps into this run. Biffle's been one of the latest to stay out each and every time he does, it seems like. And in on Dale Jarrett for position. Good bounce off the curbing there. Biffle going to stay out one more lap. He'll come to pit road this next time by. No, Kyle Busch is not in this game. He wasn't a rookie until 2005. 2003 season. Oh, 3 wide into turn 1 contact. Craig Biffle, Dale Jarrett for position. Dale Jr. also up there. All 3 cars are for position. Biffle slides by. One way or another. Hard into turn 2. There will be 40 laps to go. Here's Sterling Marlin also for position. Marlin might be staying out another lap. Biffle trying to come to pit road. Got to make sure he doesn't speed. He didn't. Great job. 4 fresh tires and a full tank of fuel. He's got to repair some damage on the right front. So this might be a slower stop, unfortunately, but this is likely the final pit stop of the race today. Very good chance it is, at least. So the 16, Greg Biffle's team, 4 fresh tires, full tank of fuel. Will it be enough to make it to the end? We've seen fuel mileage races here at Pocono in the past. We might see another one here. Looking at the stop, 19.6. Again, not a faster stop. He beat Dale Jr. to pit road. Jr. beats him off of pit road. little interesting. Junior had the fastest car for the majority of the race. I don't know how he was losing traffic at the end of the run.
We got some cars headed down pit road.
We'll have to see how everything is going to cycle out here. Biffle trying to stay in the draft of Junior as they get up to speed. Well, Biffle owes payback on Ryan Newman, so I guess if the 16 and the 12 see each other on the track, there's likely going to be a caution there at some point in time. Biffle in the draft now of David Green down the Long Pond straightaway. Trying to gain whatever sort of time he can. Not all the leaders have hit pit road yet. Biffle, oh, contact with Green. He pushed up the track. Oh, and Green slides right back up into him. On corner exit. Well, that's going to cost him time, too. Green clips the curbing, and he about takes out Biffle again. I don't know why Green's getting upset with Biffle with this. That time, Biffle slid right up into him. Look at this heavy lap traffic now, right around these lead lap cars. Some of them are probably cars that haven't even come to pit road yet. That could be much slower.
Pit road seems busy. Leaders are headed in. Best place for him is in your rear view mirror.
Well, there's Jack Sprague. These two, both him and Biffle, have already had a run-in a couple times today. This might be the last time they're going to catch one another as well, so hopefully Biffle is going to make a clean pass on him. Some more cars ducking onto pit road there off of turn 3.
Keep him behind you if you can.
For position, the last of the drivers to pit. Those guys are going to be a lot closer to making it to the end on fuel. I mean, this is going to be really, really interesting. Who can make it and who can't. It's not going to be an easy pass here for Biffle. Trying to outbrake Sprague into turn 2, but Sprague running him down the track a little bit. Sprague trying to get by Kevin LePage, it looks like, as well. Biffle trying to get underneath him. He had no lower to go. He would have ended up in the grass. Might just try to follow Sprague to get by LePage, it looks like. 3 wide off of turn 3. All the way to the inside. He's trying to get away from Sprague. Down to the bottom and make quick work of him. He's 12.1 seconds off the lead in 6th. Sprague is still there. Oh, man. He never took a shot. He thought about it, but he didn't do it. Biffle will pass him clear. And cleanly.
If he catches you, you might not direct him.
He's just trying to drive away from him. Should be able to. He's got a much faster car. I believe everybody that has had to pit has come to pit road. Now it's a fuel mileage race to the end. Who can make it, who can't? $26 gallons of gas. No, this game only has Cup Series. They have, like, not trucks, but they do have some, like, Busch Series at the time cars, but that's it. But they don't have, like, an actual series you can race them. You kind of unlock them, race them with the Cup cars. No, I think 2000 NASCAR Chase for the Cup 05 is the first game that they had trucks in Busch Series specifically. And, of course, they had the Modified Series then, too. Oh, we know Mike Skinner's upset with Biffle as well. Biffle still got to get around him. And it doesn't look like it's going to be easy either. So all the way to the bottom. Look at Skinner running him down there. Biffle's going to have to send it into turn 1 to get around him. No, and he couldn't do it. Couldn't quite get under him there. Oh, Skinner pushed tight. Off the exit of the corner. 3 wide. About to go into turn 2. Skinner with a shot. Biffle able to clear Grubb and Skinner. That wasn't easy. Going to try to run down the leaders as much as he can and not really worry about fuel right now because he's got to go if he's going to want to even have a shot to catch those guys and win this race. 12.8 off the lead. Last lap he lost a little bit of time there. You guys could obviously see why he did. Fittipaldi, his ally, going to give him a ton of room though. In turn 1. Biffle had 40 laps to go when he came out of the pit. So if he makes it to 20 laps to go, when that fuel tank hits halfway, then he's got a shot to make it to the end. If not, he's really going to have to save fuel. It's a tough track to save, 2.5 miles in length. But again, we have seen some fuel mileage races in the past. Yeah, it's got to be exciting as a fan watching that. It scares the heck out of me every time I have to get under him. I'm like, is he going to hit me? Is he not going to hit me? You know, they always hit you in the worst spots, like right in the center of a corner or, you know, right before the braking zone of a high-speed corner or something like that. It's never, like, right on the exit. It's, like, always, like, dead center in the middle of the corner or, like, right before you get into it. Loose on corner exit off of turn 2 there. Next car is a lap car, I believe, of Elliott Sadler. So again, now for position. Dale Jr.'s in 5th. He's the next driver Biffle's got to catch for position. He's only about 2 seconds roughly behind him. Trying to stay in the draft of Elliott down the long pond straightaway. Biffle was 1/10 of a second quicker the last 2 laps. Looking low going into turn 1. Oh, Sadler pulls the block. That is the 3rd time we've seen somebody pull off a late block like that going into turn 1. Wasn't as egregious as Dale Jr. and Rusty Wallace earlier, but it wasn't pretty either. And unfortunately, Biffle couldn't get around him. That stalled his momentum out. Trying to outbrake him there through turn 2. And once he gets underneath Sadler, Sadler's going to let him go. A little bit of time lost. Every single, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a lead lap car for position or a lap car, they have been blocking him a ton. Again, be a rival or an ally, it just doesn't seem to matter. Rusty Wallace was an ally and he was trying to block Biffle like crazy earlier. So was Dale Jr. at the time when he pulled a late block. That was a battle for the lead. Sterling Marlin trying to close the gap on Biffle for 6th. Marlin's had some good short run speed, but his long run speed seems to fade quite a bit. Biffle breaking the draft on Marlin. These guys are racing hard. There's only 30 laps to go. Just think, if there was a 400-mile race, this thing would be over already. As well as, you know, this year's lengths with the doubleheader as well. It would have been done, but Biffle's still got a shot to win it. Not over yet. Marlin has really closed the gap on him, though. Marlin going to look low. Biffle's going to try to block him now into turn 1. Marlin drove it in really deep. He gets right underneath the 16. He hasn't cleared him. Oh, Marlin ran up into Biffle. Kind of ran him up the racetrack a little bit, and Sterling Marlin will take over 6th place. Biffle hard on the brakes. He slid into turn 2 trying to catch the car now. guys in the chat, like, it's always somebody different. Like, oh, don't DNF like you did here. Remember when you DNF'd here? I don't like to remember that. But yes. Biffle, unfortunately, with just 20 laps to go, DNF'd yesterday at Dover. I mean, he could have some drafting help with Marlin here. Oh, Marlin went high through turn 1. Biffle trying to cut low. Might get underneath him. Nope, not quite. He's going to draft with him. Terry Labonte is the next lap car. If there is going to be another pit stop for the 16, you can guarantee it'll be fuel only. It'll be a half can of fuel, and that will be it. Just to get to the end, because he would... Oh, Marlin got held up behind Terry Labonte. And Biffle gets to the inside of Sterling Marlin. Biffle drafting off Terry Labonte now. Looking low, but look at Labonte throwing the block. He's already a couple laps down. Biffle trying to keep it off of him, runs into Marlin. Labonte clipped the grass on his entrance into the corner. And nobody wanted to give an inch, but Biffle had to, or he would have clobbered Labonte. Still got into Marlin. Almost ran in the back of Labonte there, but that wasn't a block. Biffle underneath the 5 car now. He should get around him in turn 3. Closing in on Kevin LePage. Barely clears Labonte off of turn 3. Trying to draft the 57 car. Oh, jeez. Another mistake, and Labonte gets right back around Biffle. More cars. Biffle's got to pass. The worse it's going to be for him. Look at this. This is nuts. Bonnie does give Biffle enough room when he gets underneath him, but that's about it. He's trying to side draft him now. Ooh, LePage went way wide. Got really tight into turn 3. Biffle's got a ton of room on the bottom. He's going to clear LePage off of turn 3 easily. Marlin stuck behind Labonte and LePage still. 12.4 off the lead, 25 laps to go. And there's Jack Sprague. I thought we had seen him for the final time, but I guess not.
Best place for him is in your rear view mirror.
I'll tell you what, if I wasn't doing the realistic broadcast, I would have lost my cool already, because this is mentally not fun, but we'll see. Biffle, again, just has to survive to the finish, nonetheless. He's in 6th. And again, we don't know who can and who can't make it on fuel. We saw some guys pit a few laps before Biffle. Some guys pit after him. That right front's getting pretty damaged now on the number 16. Biffle trying to fake high. Ooh, got a little sideways. Getting into turn 1. Trying to fake high and get Sprague off the bottom. Sprague is blocking Greg Biffle. Biffle doesn't need it. Biffle's got nowhere to go. And Marlin's closing back in on him again. Into turn 3. Biffle sends it in there. Sideways again, but can't get to the inside of Jack Sprague. How low Biffle's running. This is insane. Sprague. Oh, Sprague in the grass and hard into the wall into turn 1. Sprague overdrove the corner, trying to block Biffle. Well, that's one way to get around him. My goodness, that was a hard hit into turn 1 by Jack Sprague as he completely flatlined turn 1. Marlin got around him easily because of it, too. Still have laps to go. Halfway out of fuel, 21 laps to go at the line. Sorry, 22 to go at the line. I think these guys are short on fuel to the end of this race. Next lap car seems to be giving Biffle a little bit of room. Luckily enough for him. It's Joe Nemechek in the 25. Staying high, so finally a lap car giving a lead lap car room to race. Biffle will get around him cleanly in turn 2. Still not sure exactly who's leading right now. I'd have to assume it might be Ryan Newman. See Dale Jr. in 5th still. Tony Stewart still in 4th. Biffle 11.9 off the lead now. Will anybody else have enough fuel again? We're seeing like Biffle might be 2 or 3 laps short. Some guys can make it. But of the top 10, I don't think anybody can make it. They seem to have pit a lot earlier. "20 laps to go this time by. And the Pocono 500. 11.7 off the lead. Biffle might be the fastest car on the track. He's got a lot of ground to make up. It depends what game that is, though, Michael, because I think with the package that the Cup Series runs now, if it was NASCAR Heat 4 or Heat 5, you can go a little bit longer on fuel, I think, in those games. But you can on the intermediate tracks here. Not burning as much fuel because you're not using as much horsepower. A little bit better drafting, too. Another 0.2 of a second faster the last lap. Biffle's going to have to close in a lot quicker than that, though. If the race leader has enough to make it to the end. Remember, if Ryan Newman's in the lead, he pitted about 2 or 3 laps before Biffle. So he might very well not be able to make it to the end. Biffle, I mean, he's braking probably harder into these corners than what he has all day. He's actually gotten it to stick pretty well the last couple laps. He's had a little more open room to run. That's helped him. But you have to imagine, if he falls a couple seconds short of the lead, if he gets within 2 or 3 seconds, how much of that has been costed over the last 2 runs. And since really we hit about 60 to go with the aggressive blocks by everybody on the track today. 18 to go now, 2.2 back, or 11.2 back. Dale Jr. not that far in front of him in 5th right there. I believe that's Dale Jr. And it is, yes. And he's in his draft now all of a sudden, too. So Biffle trying to gain as much ground as he can. These guys might be in fuel-saving mode. They're backing off quite a bit, it seems like. Biffle comes into the race 14th in the point standings. Really faded back. Again, DNFs in 4 of the last 6 races. Best finish in the last 5 would be 29th. It has been a rough stretch for Greg Biffle. Junior blocking. Had to have expected it. It's been coming out of 9 out of 10 drivers, it seems like, at this point. Faking high, going low. He's underneath him off of turn 1. Blocked him for a little bit, but Biffle trying to stay on that left rear corner panel. He's going to have to go low into turn 2 and try to outbrake him. Big slide, trying to stay in the gas. Still underneath Dale Jr. for 5th.
Number 8 is still there. The 8 car is still there. Number 8 is all
And a clean pass into turn 3.
You're clear.
And Tony Stewart's not that much further ahead in 4th. Stewart just passed Jeremy Mayfield in the 19. Biffle 10.2 off the lead now. It's about 0.8 of a second behind Stewart. And Stewart's got about 3 seconds ahead of him before the next car on the lead lap of Matt Kenseth, who's in 3rd. Kenseth trying to go for back-to-back top 3 finishes. Pretty good for him. Finished 3rd at Dover yesterday. Hooked on that curb in there. I don't think Biffle could have hit his mark any perfect in turn 2 that time. Mayfield went down low at first, and then he couldn't stick the bottom. He got tight on corner exit. Oh, Biffle gets tight. Contact with Mayfield. Trying to draft Stewart.
All right, now get hungry. We need to eat up this 10-second gap to clear. The 19 car
Stewart trying to block low.
still there.
Oh, contact Biffle. Mayfield. Biffle can't get off of him.
Is going low. Clear.
More ground lost for the 16. Stewart trying to get by Nadu now. Stewart's on his inside. It has been nearly 80 laps since Biffle's led. Well, it would be to the end of the race, I should say. Driving it in deep into turn 3. Slides underneath the Tony Stewart. Barely has enough grip in the race car. And clear off of turn 3. Stewart almost got in the wall. 14 to go. Biffle up to 4th. 9.5 seconds back. Stewart drove it in deep, but he couldn't quite get back underneath Biffle. Biffle's got the faster car at this point in the race. That right front's got a decent amount of damage on it. Trying to keep it clean to the end. It's a lot harder with the aggressive blocks by everybody else. Now he's got a lot of clean room ahead of him. So we'll see how much time he can gain here over the next handful of laps now. He's got a couple seconds before he catches Matt Kenseth for 3rd. His teammate, though we haven't seen his teammates of Mark Martin and Jeff Burton let him by on this run, so we'll see what Kenseth's got. I think Biffle can maybe only go 8 or 9 more laps on fuel. Bobby Labonte's in 2nd place. He's 4 seconds off the lead. I believe Ryan Newman is the leader. Well, Biffle owes Newman a little bit of payback. Don't forget. Newman obviously in the top 3 in the point standings coming into this race today. Still no wins on the season. This could be Newman's first win this year. That's amazing. The 2 fastest cars most of the day, Dale Jr. and Greg Biffle, are running 4th and 6th on the track right now. How they have faltered so far through the field for their own reasons. Jr. just flat out doesn't seem to have the faster car like he did in the first 140 laps of the race. He might have clinched the most laps led as well. A little tight into turn 1. He might have drove it in a little too deep. Doing all he can. Ooh. Yeah, I've been getting my PS... Well, yeah, since I got the PS2 and I got NASCAR Thunder 04... because I have very few PS2 games left over still. So I bought them on Amazon. It took them about a week for both to come in, both the game and the PlayStation. But so not limited on stock, but it was, you know, obviously with it being older, they refurbish whatever. Then I don't have Prime, so that's another reason for it. But yeah, I've just been getting it on Amazon. You got to pay, you know, more expensive price for it. But you can find anything on there, so everything's refurbished. Biffle's catching Kenseth. He's in his draft off of turn 2. We'll have just 10 laps to go this time by. Another lap car, Brett Bodine, not too far ahead as well. Big run for Biffle on the exit of the corner. Kenseth going all the way downstairs, trying to block him. Look at this. Just less than 6 seconds off the lead with 10 laps left. Bobby Labonte was quicker than Ryan Newman as well that last lap. Look how much Kenseth was able to gain on Biffle. Biffle, the big run off of turn 1, 3 wide. He gets underneath him. Battle for third. Ooh, man, they got close. Biffle trying to side draft his teammate. Still trying to side draft him. Lap car lets him go on the bottom. Biffle will clear Kenseth cleanly through turn 2 for third. They'll be coming to 9 laps to go this time by. How much more longer can these guys go on fuel? Somebody's out. Somebody's on pit road. Again, we are in a fuel mileage race. It was a lap car, though. Newman, about 3.6 ahead of Labonte, and about 4.9 ahead of Greg Biffle. Who can maybe make it on fuel?
Watch your fuel.
About 2.5 gallons of gas left in the 16 car. He's in the draft of Bobby Labonte down the Long Pond straightaway. 8 laps to go, 3.9 off the lead. About a full second quicker that last lap than Ryan Newman. But Newman pitted a couple laps before Biffle. I definitely don't think he can make it. We know Biffle can't make it. We don't know about Labonte yet. Biffle to the inside of Labonte off of turn 1. Gets underneath him now for second. Biffle slides it in off the curbing and clears Labonte in turn 2 for second. Man, that 16 is trying to charge hard to the finish. Locking the brakes up into turn 3. Got the car to turn pretty well still. And now, 7 to go at the line. Ryan Newman still on the racetrack, but he's only 2.8 ahead of Biffle, who was 1.1 seconds quicker the last lap. Oh, Biffle got really loose into turn 1. He's not going to gain that much time on Newman that time. Lonnie closed in for a moment, but the straightaway speed for Biffle at this point in the run, it's insane. Biffle charging hard. And he's running pretty low on gas, too. He's going to stay out at least one more lap here. Maybe hoping for a caution. Newman stuck behind a lap car in turn 3. That's going to cost him a lot of time. Newman still on the track. 6 laps to go at the start-finish line. 1.9 off the lead. Just over a gallon of gas left. Biffle's going to have to pit this time. He's not going to make it a full lap after this. So he'll be pitting coming to 5 laps to go. We've seen some guys pit already who are short to the end. Biffle's just going to have to hope now. Driving hard into turn 2. He's going to need a quick pit stop out of his crew. And it's likely going to be a half can of fuel only. Newman going way low into turn 3 to get around the lap car, who gives him a lot of room that time. Newman out of fuel, coming to the line. Biffle trying to close the gap on him now. On to pit road, got to make sure he doesn't speed, and he didn't. No tires. And a half a can of fuel only. Newman in his pit box, 5 laps to go at the line. Leaders on pit road. Not all of them, but some of them. What a fuel mileage race this has turned out to be. 16 needs a fast stop here. Half can of fuel only, trying to get out ahead of Newman. He tried to close the gap. But Newman's going to have fresh tires when he comes out behind him. He came out quite a ways ahead of Newman. He's going to come out in 12th place total. He's got a rival right in front of him of David Green also. Biffle pulls up onto the racetrack. Fuel mileage race to the end. Biffle trying to hustle still. On a little bit older tires. David Green on fresher tires. Who just came out of the pits. Oh, contact! Biffle got in the back of Green. Sideways. Catches the car in the center of the corner. Green door slams him off of turn 2 and runs him into the grass now. A lot of room in turn 3. Locking the brakes up, trying to slide by the 37 of Green, and he finally gets around him. So does Jeff Green. Around David, no relation between the two. More of the leaders on pit road there, just one. Ooh, a little contact. Jeff Green and Greg Biffle there. Jeff Green on fresher tires. Biffle trying to hold him behind. Oh, he's on the brakes hard again. On the old tires, trying to hang on to it. Jeff Green gets on by. He definitely doesn't want David Green to get by him. David Green might try to wipe out Biffle. He'll be coming to 3 to go this time. Race leader still on the track. Again, who will make it on fuel to the finish? Who might not? Think of the drivers ahead of Biffle right now. He could catch Waltrip on speed. Maybe Ward Burton? Because although Biffle's tires are old and he's sliding around everywhere as you see, Waltrip on the same amount of tires, trying to stretch the fuel. Same amount of laps on his tires as well as Ward Burton. I don't know if anybody might be right in front of Ward that Biffle could catch too. I'm not sure. There's Waltrip. And Biffle had the fastest car on the track before he pitted with everybody on equal tires. Jeff Green is Waltrip's teammate though. Maybe Green can get around Waltrip and that would open a gap up for Biffle, but he might just try to protect behind him. Who knows? Being teammates here. 2 laps to go at the line. Biffle trying to get back in the top 10 as he looks low underneath Waltrip. He sends it in there. A little contact. They're stuck together. Up to 10th. They were 3 wide. Biffle putting it all on the line late. He's back in the top 10. I don't know how these guys are stretching it as far as they are on fuel. I thought more drivers might have been short. We might have guys running out at the finish. That isn't impossible. Jack Sprague going to go high. The final lap of the race. Biffle all the way to the inside into turn 3. Tight angle, slides it. Still sideways, saves it. Staying in the gas, he cleared Sprague. Trying to trap Jeff Green down the long pond straightaway again. I don't think anybody else of the lead lap cars pitted that time either. Might have guys running out of fuel, so these guys got to push it to the end. Again, cannot believe how many drivers have made it to the end when Newman and Biffle couldn't. And they were the top 2 at the line. Checker flag is in the air. That's it. Biffle might be able to get Ward Burton for 9th. going to be close. I don't think he's going to be able to with Jeff Green there in turn 3. Oh, Burton missed the bottom, but so did Jeff Green. Biffle trying to get underneath him. Maybe he can draft Green and get by Burton. At the line, it's going to be Ward Burton in 9th. Top 10 for Biffle. At least he's in the top 10 for the first time in 5 races. And Bobby Labonte will get his first win of the year on fuel mileage at Pocono. The top 2 ahead of him of Biffle and Newman ran out of gas. And Bobby Labonte will get the win.
Lots of very strong race cars.
Greg Biffle definitely got a little banged up, and it shows what an effect that can have on your finish.
Well, Joe, they're bound to...
Wow. Heart on your sleeve at the end of that race. With a 16 bunch, but they just couldn't get it done. Most laps led was clinched by Dale Jr. today with 61 laps led. Led only 6 more than both Greg Biffle and Ryan Newman. Newman led a lot late. Biffle led a lot in the middle of the race, and Jr. led a lot at the beginning of the race. Labonte led 12 laps in this one today. A lot of them at the very end, including the final 6 when he took the lead at the line there. Again, getting his first win of the season. Your top 10 would be Labonte, Kenseth, Earnhardt Jr., Marlin, Rusty Wallace rounds out the top 5, followed by Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Burton, Ricky Rudd, Ward Burton, and Greg Biffle. Again, rounding out the top 10. As we had 15 drivers finish on the lead lap today, 3 cautions, all in the first 50 laps of the race, 18 lead changes total in this race as well. And we'll take a look at the DNFs. Ken Schrader, Ashton Lewis, both had engine failures. Kevin Harvick might have had an engine failure there too, so did Casey Mears. Jeff Gordon had problems, tough break. He was in the top 5 for a large portion early. Kurt Busch DNF'd also. Mark Martin failed to finish the race late as well. So 7 drivers failed to finish and DNF'd today at Pocono. Well, at least Biffle got back in the top 10. I guess it was worth changing the paint scheme up. Wasn't a win, but a top 10 finish the way the last 5 races have went and leading laps to get 5 bonus points obviously was good. He qualified 8th. Had a fast long run car, probably had about the 2nd or 3rd fastest car today, but it worked. Unfortunately, in the fact that he finished top 10, just did not have enough fuel to make it to the end. If he could have caught Newman, he would have turned him. But he never was around Newman the whole race. That's the 2nd race in a row he's been looking for payback on Newman, and he literally never ran near him once at Dover nor at Pocono. Take a look at the point standings before we get out of here today. 2, 3, 4. So Labonte winning, that is the 8th different winner we have had this season now in the first 14 races. New Hampshire will be the next race. That will be tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time will be the start time for that one. Tony Stewart still the points leader after Pocono today by about 42 points on Dale Jr. Ryan Newman not that far behind after Newman ran well late. Of course, he couldn't get his first win of the year still, but still running top 3 in the points. Ricky Rudd has a win on a road course at Watkins Glen, but hey, he's having a good run this season. Still within a race of the points lead. So is Dale Jarrett, still within a race lead. So the top 5, all within 1 race of each other, still at the top of the leaderboard. Kenseth 6th, Harvick 7th, Jeff Green still in 8th, Sterling Marlin 9th, and Michael Waltrip still rounds out the top 10. Biffle moves up 1 spot in the points with that 10th place finish. Moves from 14th to 13th in total. He only lost 6 points today. Came in 427 back. So only lost 6 points, still lost points, gained 1 position. But again, not a bad day with a top 10 finish. Hopefully more to come at New Hampshire tomorrow. So 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, another full race live stream with a realistic broadcast as I continue the journey to hopefully one day becoming a broadcaster in real life in NASCAR. So to follow me on that journey, help me out, and support me as you guys have already done that are subscribed. So subscribe if you are not already for more of that content as well as other daily NASCAR content. Hit the like button down below if you enjoyed the race commentary of the video in general. And again, tomorrow, New Hampshire, the New England 300 at New Hampshire. Full race live stream. Hope to see you guys then. Thanks for watching, and have a good rest of your night.